Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. This is going to be a quick little discussion sequel video to my video from last week about the curious case of the missing red and gold Zords. In case you didn't watch it or know what I'm talking about, that video I discussed the fact that the red and gold Zords from Beast Morphers have been relatively hard to find, or mostly hard to find here in the US, outside of when they pop up online occasionally. But for the most part, in terms of the regular retail stores you would look for in person, they're pretty hard to find. Same thing with online, it's very sporadic. That's what that video was about. And as a result, you know, there's people worried and we're speculating on what would happen with the Beast-X King Zord, which is the main and really only new Zord coming out in the second season that we know of. You know, so people were worried about it given the fact that we had some really weird distribution problems in general with red and gold, but then of course with the current world situation, that sort of adds another wrench into the mix. So I kind of wanted to make this video talking about the very little information we actually know as of this recording, but just kind of speculate on it based on kind of my past experience and what I personally think might happen. Of course, if we ever get any official news, I'll update you about it, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about this since people were worried about it. So basically, as of this recording, and I'm recording this about a day and a half before I want it to go up, which is dangerous because usually like some sort of news comes out and either I don't see it and the video goes up and I'm outdated, or I get scooped. But as of this recording, the only thing I know of, like concretely, is I remember at Toy Fair, and I believe this was said at their presentation when they talked about, you know, Power Rangers Season 28, new toys coming for this year, buzzwords, all that. They said something about the Beast-X King Zord, like, you know, and have fun with the Beast-X King Zord this fall or this year or whatever. I don't remember if they said fall, don't quote me on that. But I remember them mentioning it. It's possible it also could have been said like on the show floor by some representative or something, but I believe it was at their presentation, depending on what side of the Mandela effect you live on. But that's all I remember being said. But we haven't seen any press photos. Again, as of this recording, I want to preface that too because right before I recorded this, I double checked and like we just recently got some press photos for like the Beast-X King Bow and a 2-pack with the Blue Ranger and his B-Spot, kind of like they did for yellow and red and stuff like that. So there is a couple little bits trickling out. And a while back, I want to say a month ago, we saw some press photos for that, you know, helicopter-y saber from the show. So some press photos are starting to trickle out from stuff we know about, but we haven't seen anything of it. That's the thing. Other than that mention, it's weird that we haven't seen any press photos. No one's found any secret Amazon listings or something. I mean, we found the Lightning Collection Wave Amazon listings back before Power Rangers even existed, so that's crazy. So there hasn't been anything like that, which is definitely weird. Again, before even this whole world situation came in, information on this was very scarce, which was strange. And I think it's especially strange because, like I said, as far as we know, this is the only Zord that's like in season 2 that's new. The only other mecha that's unaccounted for is the frog. But if we did that, you know, it might be a separate release, and that's not as crucial, and it seems likely we could even skip over it altogether in terms of the show. Like, if this was Bandai, we might get the frog, we'd probably get like a repaint of Red Racer like twice over like we do with Tiramigo just to extend the toy line out. But as far as we know, other than potentially reissuing some of the previous releases, Beast-X King is it. So they only have to release one mecha to complete all of the main mecha that they want to do, and it kind of creates an alternative to red for the main formations. So that's really strange, because it would be a different story if like, oh my god, they have like 4 or 5 mechas to get through and then we have everything shut down, but they only got one. I'm not saying, let's reopen factories for the one, but I'm just saying, even before that, the fact that we didn't see it at Toy Fair was very weird. I feel like I've said weird and strange a bunch of times, but that's just what it is, especially since we saw such a plethora of merchandise at last year's Toy Fair when Beast Morphers was just coming out. Like, we saw all the Zords, we saw all of the concrete Zords that were not transformable, we saw like the Micro Morphins, we saw a little bit of everything. I can't remember anything we didn't see or hear about at that. And given the fact that Beast Morphers Season 2 doesn't have as much to do, it's very strange, again, there's that word again, I'm sorry, but that it wasn't there or mentioned more in some capacity. Now, I do believe they talked about and showed like the, like I said, the concrete, I call it concrete version because it's like stuck together. It's like one of the versions like the electronic Ultra Zord where it's just one piece, stuff like that, but we haven't seen the transforming one yet. So that's all we know. know. They mentioned it once, and as of this recording, we have not gotten any information or found any toy listings. Now, my speculation is I do believe it exists. I do believe they want to release it. It's a matter of how and when that's going to be interesting. Because, like, as of this recording, again, I want to date this to be sure I don't get scooped, but things are just very slowly starting to open up all over the place. I don't know if Hasbro's reopened or not, but I know that some businesses and stuff are very slowly, precautiously opening stuff. So I don't know, I'm not a toy factory expert, so when Hasbro reopens, I don't know whether it's going to be full steam ahead with masks, or if it's going to be like gradually like more skeleton staff and, you know, people working in shifts. So I don't know how that will affect things when they reopen. Like, is it possible that things will be a little bit slower because they kind of have to, you know, get things going again? I think that's certainly possible, and we should be prepared for that. And we don't know what they were doing before they shut down. Like, were they just making the Beast-X Zords, or were they ready to go, like ready to be shipped almost or something? We don't know where they were in the process. But I imagine there's going to be some form of delay because of what's been going on top of the fact that it was already a little bit MIA. So my theory is, though, is it does exist, and my speculation of how it might happen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we could start seeing this late summer, early fall, and it's more readily available than red and gold were. That is the best case scenario hope. But my theory is we'll see it later in the year, maybe around fall, Christmas time, maybe start to trickle out earlier, but I get a feeling it might be one of those situations like we had with Bandai a bunch of times, and I've had with other toy companies too. When something comes out really late in its run, it will show up at toy stores, you'll hear about people finding it, but you might have a hard time finding it yourself, and either you have to resort to finding it online, or it might end up like at a place like Big Lots or TJ Maxx that gets stuff that was just too late. But again, that's just my speculation based on past experience between, you know, all these years of collecting and what's going on right now. I think that is a possibility. I do think it exists. I think we will see it. It's just a matter of how widespread it'll be. Because there's been situations like with red and gold. When I first heard about it, people were spotting it in Targets and stuff, and then all of a sudden you didn't hear anything about that. So it's possible something like that could happen. You might see some people in California spotting it, but then you might end up having to go to TJ Maxx or Amazon.com if they stock it well. So that's my speculation. However, we also don't know if Beast Morphers line might run a little bit alongside Dino Furies, meaning next year around February, March, when the Beast Morphers toys came out before. It's not impossible. I don't think that we could see some crossing between Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, meaning we'll see Dino Fury toys on the shelves and still have some leftover Beast Morphers. I mean, I'm sure we'll have leftovers, but what I mean is, like, maybe we'll see some Beast-X Kings still being shipped when Dino Fury starts. I think that's another likely scenario. But I guess the bottom line is, I don't want to be too long-winded, is I do believe it exists, and we will see it eventually. I just think that there's a chance it might be a little bit harder to get our hands on, and there might be more of a delay than originally expected. But what do you guys think? Are you worried about this guy coming out to the masses and having an easy time finding him? You know, have you heard anything I don't know about? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.